Hello and welcome to this week's mini session, which is all about insecure attachment. Now, what I'm only talking about for the purpose of this video is adult attachment. But of course, what I'm describing comes from attachment theory, which was originally developed as a study of primary attachment figure, mother, father, to infant. So we're not there, we're here. Primary relationship is really at the heart of what I'm talking about right now. Three main insecure attachment styles or types or temperaments is often how I like to talk about them. And these, just before I go into explaining what each of them are, I really want to make sure that you don't walk away from this feeling faulty. This is your wiring, and it may make being in a relationship challenging for you in some ways, but there's nothing wrong with you. This is just how your wiring has developed. And of course, if you're aware of neuroplasticity, we can create new neural pathways, new circuitry to establish a more secure way of being in a relationship. And from all the research tells us that it's absolutely possible to do that when you're in a relationship, when two people are working together to make their relationship feel more satisfying and more secure. So, insecure attachment types or temperaments, three types. The first type, avoidant, very I-oriented, self-reliant at all costs, learnt to be independent because they basically learnt from, through their early developmental years that they weren't really able to rely on or depend on their primary attachment figure. So they detached their needs from that person and they basically just said, I'm going to have to do it all myself. So there's lots of challenges in relationships for them in terms of depending on people and being depended upon, which often feels like a demand or an intrusion into their autonomy. So avoidant, then anxious, preoccupied is the clinical name for the opposing type. I call it dependent. So avoidant, I-oriented, dependent, we-oriented. This temperament is basically looks at the person and the relationship for all of their security. So they tend to be looking after and attending to their partner or their special person to make sure that they meet all their needs. And if I do that, they'll never leave me. So they abandon their own needs in their own life. They're often those people that end up feeling like they're empty and they've got nothing left of their own identity because they put all their needs and their identity into the relationship, which of course puts too much demand on the most common pairing is this dependent type with the avoidant type, and the avoidant type can't handle that level of dependence on them, and so they retreat, step back, and then the other person pursues them. That's the most common dance. The third type is a combination of the dependent and the avoidant. So that temperament tends to, really long for connection and closeness, come close, and then when it gets too close, they tend to push away. So what the purpose of my explaining this is for you to identify which of these temperaments you're most like. And for you not to then think, oh my God, there's something wrong with me, just for you to without any judgment whatsoever, start working towards, if you're in a relationship, having a discussion and working towards creating a more secure way of relating. And I would love to talk for ages about how you do that and what the different combinations together mean. But essentially, self-awareness is the key. You need to learn when you get triggered in your attachment system, how to notice when you're triggered and then how to calm yourself down, self-soothing. And remember, there's no point trying to have a difficult conversation if you're triggered. If you're in that sort of activated state, emotional state, then you need to calm down first. The avoidant temperament tends to withdraw and go into their siloed world and be, what's called stonewalling, or just be distanced and not accessible for connection. And the dependent type tends to want to be desperate for connection. So it's called the anxious avoidant trap, and round it goes. It's a dance. And really what you're needing to do is have conversations about how you're going to get out of that dance. Two avoidants together tends to be, very alongside in their relationship, but not much glue because neither of them are very emotional, and that can fizzle out. And then two dependents tend to be highly emotional and they can become quite codependent. These are just typical, but not always, scenarios. The most important thing is for you to identify where you most see yourself, which temperament you're most aligned with, and what your traits and tendencies are within that, and also of your partner. And then have some conversations about how you can better meet each other's needs. My general rule, 80% of your needs, of your when you get triggered and activated, 80% of that is for you to support and serve yourself, and 20% would be the other person sort of topping you up and giving you that additional reassurance that you might need. And make sure that you know that about each other. So, quite a long video today. Hope you stayed with it. Find out which attachment style you are, what your traits and tendencies are within that. Talk about it with each other, and agree on how you're going to move through difficult conversations with all of that in mind. Let me know if I can help you any further. See you next time.